Ms Maitland.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Temporary Speaker. I rise today to speak about one of the issues that is really impacting on my community, and that is around ambulance stations. As I've said many times since 2015, the Liberal National Government has failed to properly plan for one of the fastest growing regional areas outside of Sydney in our state, that is my community of Maitland. Since I was elected to this place, I've worked tirelessly with our communions, our community, our unions and others in the community to force the government to make sure that our new Maitland Hospital is a public hospital rather than a public partnership or public not-for-profit partnership hospital. However, I have also, in the background in the context of health, advocated very strongly around our ambulance services. In fact, in all of the communications that I've tried to have with the former Minister for Health, the Minister Gillian Skinner, I did finally, after 13 attempts, get to have a meeting one day with her Chief of Staff in which I asked the government about their long promise to build a new ambulance station in Maitland. And in that meeting, I was told it was in the budget. I think I was told 4 times, and eventually showing questions on notice where the responses had been very less than respectful to my community, it was admitted that there was no money in any of the budgets up at that time for that hospital, for that ambulance station. Eventually, Minister Skinner was replaced, and I made the same representations to Minister Hazzard. And that has been an ongoing discussion, and I've put questions on notice about this and also given him representations from my community, people like Michael Johnson from Rutherford, who was told as his wife was in bed with terrible symptoms which sounded like a stroke to him, that he needed to drive her to the hospital. Another fellow whose mother was gravely ill and tried to go to the hospital to call the ambulance only to have a truck that was not able to actually take any patients arrive. Now, recently my office have obtained some statistics around the ambulances in Maitland, and the House would be shocked to know that in my community we have one ambulance for 80,000 people, and that other communities nearby with populations of say 50,000 have up to 3 ambulances, or another neighbouring electorate has 71,000 people and they have 6 ambulances, but Maitland has just the one. And this is a huge health issue for my community, and highly trained ambulance officers are very deeply concerned by the pressure that is placed on them of arriving to places when they are called to an emergency and they cannot transport the patient. Like, this should not be what we expect for our ambulance service. And I am very, very concerned about this. There's been no increase in the number of ambulances in my electorate since this government came to power, despite us growing by 15% in population since the last census, and now being at over 81,000. I challenge the Health Minister to stand opposite and tell the House how many representations I have made to him on this matter, because the Parliamentary Secretary for the Hunter has told my community through a secret Facebook group, which purports to be a community group, that I have done nothing to advocate for it, when he had a bodgy turn the sod event in my electorate. This is the politics of disgusting, and I am not going to accept it, and I want it on the record that I have advocated for an ambulance in Maitland just as hard as I have advocated for our public hospital, which the government did promise some 8 years ago. The ambulance was in the last election, and I ask the government to deliver that promise and to ensure that all of the health services that have been promised to our community, even down to the services that they have promised in the new hospital, that they are all delivered. The $3.8 million facility that's been promised to my community for this ambulance station can't be left to house one truck. That's a disgrace. We need people who can take people to hospital in an emergency. This Liberal government just doesn't care. Thank you.
Acting Speaker.